Hello, welcome everybody. This is a recording for the week of October 28th. So at the end of this week, we have Halloween for those who celebrate. We also have a new moon coming on November 1st, I believe. So those are two things to keep in mind. When I did a check-in for today, again, I do the check-ins collectively. So some of this may resonate for you more than others. And I try to check in specifically for those people who find my channel and my messaging. So while I am checking in for obviously the events that are happening in the next week or so in the world and specifically in the United States, because that's where I'm located, some of the messaging is going to be on a smaller scale just because it is for those people who are tuning into the channel. And as always, know that if you're tuning in and it's not the week of October 28th, 2024, this message still resonates because time is just a human construct and you get the messaging when you need the messaging. So don't pay too much attention to the date, but when I do check into the energy, I do clearly ask, can I have the best guidance and any information needed to be heard for the collective that follows me and my voice and my messaging? So when I check in, I want to take a note of sort of like where we're coming from, where we are, and what we need to look forward to. It seems like there was a lot of action happening up until this point. Things that were happening maybe behind the scenes, very individualistic, very ego-centered, not necessarily making a ton of progress, not really able to seek help from others. So it feels very much like a very like a narcissistic energy or like a very young energy. So coming from this place of I'll do it myself and I don't necessarily need to pay attention to the rules. So that kind of like young energy and very ego-centered energy of wanting your actions to happen, right? So this can look like a lot of different things. It can look like having a goal and really wanting it to be met in any way possible, but not really wanting to ask for help for whatever resistance is there for you. Could also on the global scale, because I do look in collectively, look like somebody who's just going to like get what they want regardless of how it happens, regardless of who it hurts. Not necessarily because they are determined to hurt others, more so because they are so wrapped up in their own needs that they don't want to think about anybody else but themselves and getting the needs met. So this is past energy. This is kind of where we're coming from. And so where we are right now is we're in a process where, you know, whatever we were working towards actually has seen some growth to it. And we're in a place now where we're kind of at this, it's almost like a crossroads because what we have built could take root. It could like fly. It go out into the world. It can like make friends. It can become something bigger. It has the legs, it has the foundation, it has the structure to really become what we want it to become. But in order for that to happen, there's always this letting go, right? So it's almost like there's some anxiety around it. So the efforts that you have made are basically at fruition. I want to say fruition almost because the structure is there, but it needs to be released. So whatever you've been working towards is ready to let go. So here is the crossroads in letting go. In some ways, there's a sense of grief and trust, right? So allowing things to start to be birthed into the world means that we need to feel safe enough that we trust that our work can sort of grow on its own. So it's almost like having a child who is ready to leave the house or ready to go out on their own in whatever way. Maybe that's college, maybe that's a job, maybe that's a new apartment, in whatever way. We just have to trust that we did all the things that they can have a good foundation so that they can make best choices for themselves. It doesn't mean things won't be like they won't make mistakes. So it's the same kind of thing with whatever goal or project or creative endeavor that you just recently sort of built and took time creating. Now it's ready to put it out into the world. And so there's a place where that transformation is going to happen. As soon as it goes out into the world, other people's energies start to mix in with it. So it's no longer just the thing that you have for yourself that's hidden, but now there's going to be other energies on it. So it can feel very scary. So you have to be at a place where you can just blindly say, I'm ready for whatever has to happen to happen. I'm at that place. I'm not going to hold on to this, because if you don't take the risk, growth won't happen. So know that you are ready to move to the next level with this. So whatever project you have, whatever you were thinking of, it's ready to just kind of like meet the world and take on a different phase in its life. So that's where you're at. And so now let's looking into the future a little bit and just see kind of what's coming up for us. What do we need to know about this week and what's coming up for us? Okay, so it seems like moving into the week, and again, this week is so interesting because there's a lot of anxiety in the beginning of the week, and it sort of carries through, but not on a surface level. It's almost like we kind of have made peace with those things. We've put all the effort in, we've created a thing, we're at a place where we get to make a choice now. Do we put it out into the world or do we keep it for ourselves? And then thinking about the future and things that you want to bring in is really like, sometimes growth happens in play. It doesn't always have to be serious. There's this balance between how much do I play and how much do I work? And that we have to really remember that spiritual growth or creative growth or work growth, whatever self-growth, whatever growth we're in, it doesn't always have to be so work committed, being a good student, buckling down, doing the right things, and really showing that we have a good work ethic, that we have to find the balance between joy and play and bring that in. So sort of being in a place of like, how do I move forward and incorporate the joy and the play into also continuing to do some of the work, some of the stepping forward, some of the, finding out what do I need to learn? What do I need as tools? Who do I need to meet? So it's how do we find this balance now? Because I do feel it's connected to what I was saying about you're ready to put the project out into the world or whatever it is that you're building or working towards. It could even be a relationship, but we're ready to like give it some legs and like make it public. So in doing that, facing those fears of, the resistance or anything that's coming up around it, to now in stepping forward to remember that there can be joy in that, right? So we don't need to control it so much. We don't need to figure out like, okay, I'm going to put this out into the world and I'm going to know who it's going to go to, where it's going to go, what it's going to do. I'm not going to choose all those things. I'm going to give it some freedom. I'm going to give it some play. And that's also for you, right? Like, so how do you keep going on your own growth journey and incorporate more joy and play? Because I think as a collective, this is something that we have forgotten. So most of us, even in our joy and our play, there's always this other thing attached to it, right? Like you're either on your phone taking pictures to post on Instagram, or you're videotaping it for some kind of like social media channel, or you're in some way documenting it, which feels very much like work because you're stopping the flow of the joy. You're going to the yoga class, but in the back of your mind, you're hoping that it's going to fix some injury or make you look better. Or let me think, going to anything, going to an art class, but hoping that you're going to get better and like learn a new technique, or going to a social thing, hoping that you're going to meet the love of your life or meet that person who's going to introduce you to the best job, right? So this is really where society has come to. And the messaging here is like, can you scale back? Not that those things are bad, but can you scale back and allow yourself to find joy for joy's sake? Can you simply go out into the world and allow yourself to be in it and be in the being of it without bringing in consciously this need for it to be a doing of some sort. Okay, so hopefully some of that settles with you and makes sense for you and wherever you are in your life, because this week is really about, there's going to be some anxiety to it, and there's going to be some trust that happens. There's going to be frustration, like whenever something is coming up where there are choices to be made, not everybody's going to get the choice that they want, right? So there's going to be a lot of deeper connections that self connections that are going to come to the surface. And so it's really about how do we acknowledge those anxieties, but at the same time, a new moon has to do with like creating new desires, new goals, new projects, new hopes, new dreams, right? Like you have an opportunity to start fresh. What are you calling in? What new thing do you want to call into your life? So there's a lot of hope and possibility in that. So we have a balance of two things here. One is the anxiety and the will, the desire and our will to make something happen, and the other is to let it go and let it just be what it is and enjoy the freedom of that. So try to find the dots, the connections in between, and hopefully some of that can settle in for you and resonates in some way. Stay tuned next week and I'll check in again for you. Thank you.